The royal hall was carved from living crystal that glowed with ancient starlight, and every breath echoed like history remembering itself. Thousands of alien nobles stood in laid ranks, their eyes fixed on the lone human who walked forward without armor, without weapon, and without fear. He was small compared to them, fragile by their measure, yet his steps were steady and his gaze did not lower. At the center of the hall, beneath banners older than human civilization, stood the alien child alone. She was barely taller than the human's waist, her skin shimmered like moonlit water, and her eyes carried the weight of a species that had ruled galaxies. The child had been summoned not to be honored but to be judged. Her bloodline was royal, yet her mother was gone and her father had fallen in a war no one in this hall wished to remember. By law, she was to be taken, raised by the state, molded into a symbol rather than allowed to grow as a child. The nobles whispered not with voices, but with shifting colors along their throats, expressing approval, calculation, and cold certainty. The human had been invited as an observer, formality, a gesture toward diplomacy after centuries of distance. No one expected him to move. No one expected him to cross the sacred floor that only royals were allowed to touch. Gasps rippled through the hall as crystal light dimmed in shock. The child looked up, sensing movement, sensing change, and for the first time that day fear cracked her composed silence. She had been trained not to cry, not to reach, not to hope. The human stopped beside her, and slowly, carefully, he knelt so his eyes met hers. The whole waited, ready to condemn, ready to strike, ready to erase this mistake. The human spoke softly, his voice carrying warmth instead of command. "You are not alone." The child did not understand his words, but she understood the tone. She understood the way his eyes held no judgment. He extended his hand open and empty. A simple human gesture, meaningless to empires, yet powerful beyond measure. For a heartbeat that felt like eternity, nothing happened. The nobles prepared to intervene. The guards tensed. The child hesitated, her training screaming caution, her instincts whispering something else. Then she placed her small, luminous hand into his. The contact was gentle. The crystal floor pulsed with light. Every sound in the royal hall ceased. No whispers, no shifting colors, no breath. Silence fell not by command, but by awe. Ancient senses awakened, recognizing a bond older than law, older than empire. The human did not pull her toward him. He simply held her hand as if it was the most natural thing in the universe. The child felt warmth spread through her arm into her chest. Not heat, but safety. A feeling she had never known. Her breathing slowed. Her fear loosened its grip. The eldest noble stepped forward, his form towering, his voice meant to shatter resolve. Human released the royal child. The human looked up, still kneeling, still holding her hand. No. The word was quiet. It carried no threat. Yet it struck harder than any weapon. She is a child. That truth rippled through the hall like a shockwave. The nobles recoiled not from power, but from something they had forgotten. The child squeezed his hand unconsciously. The human felt it and tightened his grip just slightly. "I will not let her stand alone before you." The eldest noble hesitated. This was not defiance as they understood it. This was something alien even to aliens. Compassion without agenda. Protection without ownership. The royal archives began recording without command, recognizing a moment that would reshape history. The child took a step closer to the human, her side pressing against his shoulder. She looked out at the hole and for the first time did not feel small. The nobles saw it. They saw how her posture changed, how her light brightened, how her fear no longer defined her. This bond was not conquest. It was not alliance. It was something older than empire, a vow without words. The guards lowered their weapons uncertain. The law-keepers consulted texts that had not been opened in millennia. There was precedent buried deep in forgotten eras. When a ruler is chosen not by blood or force, but by the ability to inspire protection. The human stood slowly, never releasing her hand. He turned to face the hole, placing himself between the child and the empire. "If you wish to judge her, you will judge me as well." Murmurs returned, hesitant and fractured. The nobles were divided. Some felt anger. Some felt shame. Some felt something dangerously close to hope. The eldest noble spoke again, softer now. Human, why do you do this? The human answered simply, because no child should face the universe alone. The whole fell silent again, not in shock this time, but in recognition. The crystal walls glowed brighter, reflecting a truth long ignored. Empires rise through strength, but they endure through humanity, even when that humanity comes from another species. The child lifted her head and spoke for the first time, her voice small yet clear. He chose me. The words carried power. The law-keepers froze. Choice was sacred. Choice was binding. The eldest noble bowed his head slowly. Then let history record this moment, when a human took an alien child's hand, and an empire remembered what it had forgotten. The child smiled not as a ruler but as a child. The human smiled back, and the royal hall would never be the same again.